Good afternoon. My name is Russell Joseph, and this is my presentation on the DSM-5 diagnosis and treatment plan of my clinical patient, Rujo. This is my character overview. Rujo is a fictional character. It's his name is comprised of my name, Russell Joseph. The first two letters of each of the first and last name. This is a clinical case, and our primary concerns with him were always aggression, criminal behavior, and lack of remorse. Just a little bit of background history on him. He came up from a low income household. There was no father figure inside the house, and he was exposed to violence and crime very early. As since his father wasn't around, his mother would bring in men from the streets and things like that to help take care of the home. But what that ended up doing was causing a lot of abuse and mental trauma inside of Rujo's mind. And of course, he has the family instability and neglect because of the absent father and the uncaring mother at the time. His presenting problems, he has repeated criminal behavior. He has just come to therapy because he just did an 11-year bid off of selling drugs and things such as cocaine and marijuana, pills, fentanyl. Got very popular as he was going into prison. So he just did an 11 out of 15-year bid, and he got out because of good behavior. He disclosed to us that he has murdered somebody in the street, but that had not went to the police, and that's why he was in jail for a longer sentence per se. He deals with aggression and violence. Of course, he tends to get mad a lot. His main response to everything is to get angry. So we're trying to build that out of him, of course. And something that goes hand in hand with aggression is, of course, violence, because there are times where you can be in your head, and the moment you're in your head and you get mad about something, the first thing you want to do is inflict that same pain onto somebody else, which, again, coming from his background, makes a lot of sense. Um, he also has problems with impulsivity, so he'll do things. He tends not to care about the well-being of others. So whatever comes first into his mind, that's what he'll do because he feels that is the right direction to go, right? And then he has the disregard for authority and laws. He does not take well to police as he feels like they've failed him. The system has failed him. They've put him into prison when he felt like other people in his life should have been the ones who served the time instead of him. And of course, he has a lack of empathy and remorse. Again, that just goes into the not caring about how other people are, or how his actions were to deal, like how other people were to deal with his actions. So he struggles with that a lot. Part of the DSM-5 diagnosis, I had diagnosed him with ASPD, or antisocial personality disorder. I did this because firstly, his disregard of others' rights. Again, he will do anything that he sees fit that betters his life, even if it's not more so of a betterment of, let's say, a lot of people were to say this is a better forward moving or forward thinking process that he's involved with. It's more so that he can do whatever he wants at any given time and nobody else can do anything about it. So it's not more so he's always in the right. He's just always in the now, or in the doing phase, right? He has a tendency to be untrustworthy and impulsive. He cannot be trusted. Of course, he's ran from the law many times. Um, he's lied to us in confessions and stuff like that. So we're trying to get him a little better at that. He was very closed off when he first came in. There aren't a lot of people that really come into therapy and are just willing and or just free to talk about everything in their lives, and we completely understand that. But leaving certain things out of confessions and making yourself seem like another person is just not the best way to have one if you're trying to look for help. He's of course irritable and aggressive. Again, that those two just go hand in hand. Anytime he just has something inside of him that just wants to come out, the first thing, his first reaction to everything is just to be angry, because he was always angry at the world, and that's just how he perceives his thoughts. His lack of remorse. So again, he does not care about the feelings, or even he doesn't give people, like, he doesn't view people as people, more so just things in his way. So Of course, nothing would hurt him if it meant hurting somebody else. And again, failure to conform to social norms. He, of course, being in prison so long, there are things that have changed on the outside. You know, it's a brand new world when you come out. Even doing a year, I feel like is a little too much for somebody whose first time going into a prison would be that long because of just how fast life changes, right? So he had to go through 11 years of life looking at a cell block, and of course coming out of that and going back into the working force or just living everyday life can't can't be normal or it can't be easy. So a lot of those things just build up into his ASPD, and we can tell that he just has this shield up from a long life of just abuse and trauma. So we're trying to knock that down and trying to show him that there are people out there who truly care about him. So what is my evidence for this diagnosis? He has a chronic criminal activity. He's a chronic criminal, so he continuously does crime. He doesn't care who it hurts as long as he gets his money or he gets his way. He doesn't, or gets his respect in some cases. He doesn't really care what's going on. If it's selling drugs, if it's hurting somebody, that has nothing to do with him. So he's also violent and aggressive. Again, he showed this many times. In our report, I don't know how well into the report you read, but he does have a son and a girlfriend at home that he had put his hands on before he had went to prison. We're trying to get him away from things like that. So him putting his hands on his girlfriend was not the best of actions, but we understand, even if we don't want to, we do understand that a person's past does play a role in their future, and we're trying to rebuild him instead of tearing him down. Again, his impulsivity and poor decision making. He again does not care about others. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like he cares about himself. So, having him take the best foot, the best, having him take the best foot forward in things such as even something as small as decision making and making sure that he's going on every day making the best decisions for not only him but his family because he's just not taking care of only himself anymore. Um, his lack of any remorse or guilt, that's self-explanatory. He again has no care of anybody else but himself. He hides in his shell. He doesn't come out, and when he does come out of that shell, it's not to do anything positive. He also has unstable and destructive relationships. Male role models have never been really a thing after the age of 12 to 14 with him. He really hasn't looked up to anybody to serve that male role. So a lot of things he did were just thought of from himself. So the fact that his relationship with his parents weren't good, he had no siblings, his relationship with people of the same race, people older, younger, people of opposite sex, anything. Like he just couldn't build a strong relationship with anybody because all he cared about was himself. His developmental factors. Of course, we do know he has the childhood trauma and neglect. He was neglected as a child, as you know, he didn't have anybody to talk to when he was sad. The one person he had was his mother, and she was too busy with other men, so she couldn't really tend to her child as she should have. His exposure to a criminal environment, and again, he did come out and he was in the streets from a very young age because that's all he knew. All he knew was get money, take care of yourself, keep your head low if you can, and just to make it by any means possible because even your loved ones or people who are supposed to be your loved ones when it truly matters won't be there for you. Uh, he was lacking in positive role models in life, and that is male or female. I don't feel like um there's any type of gender thing to go along with that. I feel like a positive role model is a positive role model through and out because if I see a woman doing great in life, of course, I'm not saying I don't want to be a woman, but I'd want to follow in her footsteps. And even seeing things like that. He didn't want to follow in his mother's, who was a woman's footsteps, because he felt as though she had no respect for not only herself but her family. So, of course, a lot of that could have been due to the father, but he still blames his mom for that because that's the only person he had around. And then his reinforcement of antisocial behavior over time. Um, we see this in a lot of people. We actually see this in things like sports, right? So if you the best people at their sports play their sports all the time, right? So somebody like LeBron James, where if he were to get on a basketball court, he would look natural because he's always on the court, right? So if we're always by ourselves, when we tend to go out, we'll struggle speaking and developing relationships with other people because we just don't know how. So because we're always sitting at a desk or looking at a phone screen or maybe not even engaging with the outside world, it would be hard to then go out and accept the world for what it is. So my treatment for Rujo would be cognitive behavioral therapy. So I have this link here. It was made by the Spring Nature link, and they did 11 studies. And of those 11 studies, 8 reviews came back that CBT compared to other conditions or control conditions or treatments was the best way to go, and it brought back the best reported uh, feedback, and only lost out one time in these studies. So uh, I love CBT because in a case like this, it's not more so uh, how do I say, just accessing a person's disability more so, but changing a person's view of not only themselves but the world around them, right? So every day has to be a win for Ruho. Every day he has to get up and choose to be better, not for himself, not only for himself, but for his family as well, right? So he has to get up, make sure that his son is okay, his son gets to school, his son has something to eat before, during, and after, even if he's eating school lunch, right? He has to make sure his wife or his girlfriend at the time is okay, that she's up and she goes to work and that she's living okay, and then of course she's a adult so she can take care of herself, but just being that moral support that everybody needs in a relationship, right? And then the last part is him making good decisions for himself. It's him changing his distorted thinking, thinking that everybody is against him, thinking that everybody just wants to take from him and doesn't want true love or true love and respect to go both ways with him, right? And through that, we would just increase his behavior patterns. We would make sure he's taking as many W's in a day, or wins, or little, little games here and there, just to make sure he can track that everything is going all right in his head, right? And along with that, I feel like it all has to start with the therapist, right? Me just checking up on him, me checking up on his family, me checking up on how things are going on at home, right? A lot of people may say, there's only so much one person can do, but you can turn that around and say that a lot of people just needed one person, right? So if I could be that one person as just a key in the engine, right? To just have them believe that there are people out there who have no ulterior motives, that don't want anything from him, that see him as a good person, even through all the bad he's done. All he needed, or all he needs, is someone he believes who truly cares for him, right? And I feel like me planting that seed allowed him to then show others that not only does he care about himself, and not only does he care about them, but he's happy inside because somebody cares about him. Sorry about that. So Through the last slide, I was just explaining a few of these, right? It's identifying his negative thought patterns because he has a lot of them. He doesn't believe in himself or anybody around him, and he tries to push people away as much as he possibly can. Um, we have to challenge his irrational beliefs. We have to make him believe again that there are people who want the best for him and don't just want to just have him around or leave him out when he's really needing somebody, and replace everything through the jail system, through childhood trauma. We have to replace everything with realistic thinking about the future because we want to make sure that this part of his life doesn't now affect this part. Uh, Again, um, his intervention or his behavior activation, we can increase his positive structured activities. So again, that means just waking up and being there for his son when his son leaves out the door to catch the bus, or just making his wife some breakfast in bed. Maybe nothing too grand, but just showing somebody that you care, right? Reducing his isolation and impulsivity. I feel as though like a lot of people, when they sit in silence or they sit by themselves, they think about a lot of things, right? And I feel like a lot of bad things come from when you are your most vulnerable, which is when you're by yourself, right? So the first step would be to get him into more social areas, maybe get him to join a club. He loves basketball, maybe get him to a men's league, actually playing one. So that wouldn't be too hard. I would just invite him to one of mine again, just showing him that somebody does care about him and somebody does listen, right? It's just making sure that he is interacting with people as much as he can because he missed out a lot on that when he was in prison. And again, with tied along with that comes with the impulsivity, and I just feel as though if he stops thinking bad thoughts and he's not always just in a cornered place in his mind, then he won't be as likely to just have these random spurs of bad moments and random spurs of bad thoughts to then go and cause harm, maybe to not only to himself but to other people as well, right? Um, Along with that, we have him build routines, responsibilities. So again, just taking little W's every day, making sure that he can easily just pat himself on the back, like, yes, I did that, yes, I completed that, and just go on about his day. And encourage his pro-social behavior. So anytime his girlfriend tells us that he made it to church or that he he is, walking around the park or going into little conventions or anything like that, or in any situation where he's trying to be more than who he is right now with another person, that is just something we have to encourage him for and pat him on the back for because it's something big. Because people believe that progress is linear, you know. Well, if we took progress as a battery charging, well, sometimes you'll be at 20% one day, and or if the whole point was to get to 100, you'll be at 20% one day, 18 the next, 34 maybe on day 3, and then back down to 10 on day 4, right? It may take you a month to get all the way to that 100, and the percentages could go up and down as many times as they need to, but that's just how progress works. You would never go from 0 to 100 in one sitting unless what you're trying to do is easy, right? And something like this, so especially for a patient like this, is not easy, right? His treatment rationale would target patterns driving behavior, right? So we'll try to figure out what triggers him to do some of the things he does, right? Maybe sometimes he is in the house and uh he's triggered by something like his girlfriend does or something his son says or some an action people or actions people take around him may stir him up a little bit. So we're trying to target what that is that still is bothering him. Because we understand it is the trauma. Yes, we understand that will always be there. But if we can make it so that he's more comfortable where he's at, I feel like a lot of things will diminish because of that, right? We have to build strong and very strong impulse control. because again, he's done many things even the law doesn't know about. So we have to make sure to keep not only a close eye on him, but make sure that he doesn't how do I say this, resolve to anything that may cause harm to another person. Again, encouraging accountability, making sure that he's taking his little W's every day, and he's knowing that somebody's watching him take his W's, and if he's not, then we'll make sure to be on top of that with him, and then improving his decision making all around. I feel as though the moment we can get him into therapy, and the moment we can start working with him and things of that nature, um, everything will fall into place. And the biggest thing to change, honestly, is the way he feels and how he lets that make his decisions for him. So, in conclusion, Rujo does meet the DSM criteria for ASPD, or antisocial bipolar depression. He has a pattern of antisocial behavior. He has strong environmental issues, of course, because of the abuse and the trauma. And CBT is, of course, the recommended treatment for him to get him back into the working world and just back part of society. Thank you. And here are my references.